guys, so today we're going to be talking about the first movie in this segment, and that is The Exorcist. And this was released in 1973, and yeah, it's based on a novel by William Peter Blatty. What kind of name is that? He also wrote the screenplay and produced this movie, so I think I'd never read the book The Exorcist. It was based on a 12-year-old girl though, just like in the movie, so I think it would be a pretty accurate crossover between book and movie because it was produced and written by the author who did the book, so it just makes sense. So this is actually the first horror movie that was ever nominated for Best Picture, but it didn't win. It was beat out by The Sting. I've never seen it. This movie is such a classic that it was chosen by the Library Film Congress for preservation in the National Film Registry. So even the government recognizes that this is a culturally significant movie, and overall it's one of probably the best classics on the list that I chose. The Exorcist will always be one of my favorite movies for so many reasons, and I'm gonna find in this segment this month that it's hard for me to critique these movies because I chose a lot that I love, but it's hard to critique classics in the modern day sense, so don't be surprised if a lot of my reviews this month are positive. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I'm just warning you. So there's actually a lot of rumor about this movie being cursed, and the director actually took the film to 666 Fifth Avenue for final editing, and I thought that was hilarious. And I don't believe in demons by any means, or God or the devil for that matter. I don't believe in it, but I think it's funny about all the controversy about this film, and a lot of people believe that it was actually cursed. And there was a man, I forgot his full name, William something, who was a Christian evangelist and said that the celluloid of this film actually hosted a demon, that a demon actually resided in the celluloid of the film. So I thought that was pretty funny, and I think probably because it was edited at 666 Fifth Avenue and for some other reasons. There's a train. Please don't blow your horn. Don't blow it. So many people are said to have died after working on this film, and I'm not sure to what ratio that really is, if it was significant just for this movie or if it was kind of a conspiracy type theory, because a lot of people I'm sure die after making movies. I think it's just the way life goes. I don't know if that is just something that people talk about to make it seem like a more controversial movie than it really is. So I don't know to what ratio, if this movie had higher deaths afterward recorded than others. I'm just full of fun facts in the beginning of this review, I guess. Audrey Hepburn was actually the first choice to play Chris, who was Regan's mother, and she actually would only go through with it if it was shot in Rome, which it wasn't. I'm not sure actually if it was shot in Washington, D.C., but that's where the film took place. But instead, Ellen Burstyn got the part and did an amazing job. I think the acting throughout this film was unbelievable, especially the acting of Regan herself was amazing. I mean, to have such a young girl play a controversial role for a child. In fact, the first director who was approached about this turned it down because he thought it was abusive to children or whatever, because of the actions of Regan. And this movie remains to be one of the most disturbing in my opinion because of the possession of the demon and stuff. I enjoy a good possession movie, don't get me wrong. Do they scare me? Never ever, because I don't believe in demons. I know a lot of people who do, and I definitely respect them for not wanting to watch these movies. I would never make fun of them or push it on them or anything like that. You know, I worked with people who wouldn't even talk about it, so I totally understand for those of you who do believe in demons and things like exorcisms, but I don't. So to me, these movies are just more entertaining, and it's kind of like a zombie movie or a ghost movie to me, because those aren't real either. Well, ghosts to me aren't real. I'm just full of bias today. But anyway, as a whole, this is definitely one of my favorite movies of all time, and you have to let me know how you feel about this movie, if it's something that will always disturb you or if it doesn't disturb you. I'd be surprised to hear about those who aren't disturbed by this movie. Basically, I'll just do a little plot synopsis, although I don't think that any is unnecessary for this movie because it's such a classic, and I feel like even if you haven't seen it, you know the plot. So Regan is a 12-year-old girl who is she's a good girl. She's a great child. And she has a great relationship with her mother, and her behavior begins to change, and she begins to swear and lie and, you know, say things like her bed is shaking, and things are just changing in her life. So her mom takes her to a bunch of doctors, and they all assume that it's more psychiatric because they do scans and blood work and things like that and find that there's nothing physically wrong with her. So they believe it's something psychological. They give her medicine like Ritalin to help combat that, but obviously it doesn't work because it is a demon. So as a last resort, Chris, her mother, reaches out to a priest and asks him to do an exorcism, and he says, you know, I have to go through all this process to get it approved by the church because they're not often allowed in very rare cases. And, you know, some people believe that an exorcism only works because the person said to be possessed is only pretending to be possessed, or they believe themselves to be possessed, but that's not really what happens. So that's why exorcisms work, and that was kind of touched upon in the last exorcism, when it was like a documentary kind of style, fake obviously, of a priest who believed that exorcisms weren't real and that it was really all in their head. This movie does come out with a happy ending, and I'm really happy about that because, you know, you feel so bad for Regan and what she's gone through, and how she recovered like that, I don't even know. I mean, I don't know how long time frame that passes between when we see her being exorcised and then when we see her recovered. Obviously some time had passed because the whole house was like packed up and Chris and Regan decided to move. So yeah, so she does come around, she does get exorcised, and actually, excuse me, so the priest who's actually exorcising Regan, well, his fellow priest, the other father who was the main exorciser, I don't even know, what's the word, he had died during the process, and so it was just him, and he was like determined to get this demon out, and he was taking the things that she was saying personally though, so he wasn't fully clear-headed, but basically he just gets on top of her and says, you know, take me, come into me, and the demon accepts that, goes into him, he realizes that he's all of a sudden possessed, and jumps out the window. And I think he purposefully jumps out the window as suicide to kill himself with the demon, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if the demon makes him jump out the window, but I'm pretty sure it was a suicide. So then Regan's conscious, she doesn't remember any of it, and they move on with their lives. So overall, this story just has great development. It is a long movie, it's 2 hours, but every single minute is worth it. I don't think any moment is really slow, although the beginning really isn't really necessary, in my opinion, and the story with the priest and his mother isn't 100% necessary, but it does come into play later with Regan and what she's saying, but that could have been taken out, in my opinion. But otherwise, this movie's just flawless. It's amazing, especially for being in the 70s. The makeup and everything for Regan was amazing. I loved it. So yeah, that's basically my review. The characters also have great development as well, you know, with the mother, great actress, and then Regan, of course, her story is amazing. So that's basically all I want to talk about for The Exorcist. It's definitely a good starting off point for this month's reviews. Let me know what you thought about this movie. If it was your first time watching it, what do you think? I think it's pretty cool. So yeah, with these movies, you have to go in believing that they're a classic because they are older. A lot of the ones I chose are older. So, oh, and I just want to touch on me not selecting The Shining. I know a lot of you are really confused by that. I have my reasons, and I will be doing it in a future segment. Foreshadowing. But anyway, that's all I have to say about this movie. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.